You know, dying is a scary thing. Knowing he died alone like that haunts me, that I couldn't help him. One thing you're gonna do growing up in the projects, you're gonna lose a lot. A lot of family, a lot of friends, you're gonna lose. Well, we grew up in the same project development here in Third Ward. He was a little older than I was, but in the projects, age is not really a barrier. You may find somebody 14 hanging with somebody 66. You know, age is not a barrier as far as friendship or brotherhood goes. So I've been knowing him for a while, since I was in diapers.
You will see 3 generations of project dwellers living here. Grandmother, mother, child, sometimes even great-grandmother, all living in the same, not all the time the same unit, but in the same square space. It's probably the last place in Third Ward where you see abject poverty. So if you grow up in an environment like this, where you don't have access to food, you don't have access to health care, you don't have access to education, you don't have access to good and fair housing, and haven't had as a people for years. When we talk about systemic racism, you have the avatar for it in George Floyd. All of those different factors got him to the point where his last act of desperation as a 40-something-year-old man was to travel to Minnesota to people whose hands were open, who said they'd help him. George Floyd was one of the first people that our church we encountered who was able to open doors that I couldn't open. I can knock on 100 doors and 2 or 3 people may come out, but when he comes out of the building, 100 people come out. So it's just he has a different type of energy about him, and folk know who he is around here. And he's been through the wars, and he's lived to tell about it.
You couldn't fathom the things we went through as children. You would have never saw in your life. You would have never wished that on any child to see in their lives. We're talking about serious mental anguish. You know, if you look back and going through all of that kind of makes you who you are today. You know, just like my bro Floyd, I believe everything he went through in his life, you know, it made him who he was. Hurry up, Nicholas and Derek. All of the pain I went through as a child, that's the reason I am the way I am with youth now, is because I want to make sure that under somebody that's giving them good leadership. The kids that are part of my life, that I counsel, that I'm a mentor to, that I coach, they give me hope. In the projects, sports is an outlet early, because that's all you have. But how far you go, that's what those examples do for you. His example as an athlete was huge in our community. There's a lot of us that took that step because he took the step. For us to be able to watch him play in the Astrodome in high school, we were in junior high. That was huge. That told us, man, we can do this. You know, coming to see somebody from right where we from, struggle how we struggle, eat what we eat, hurt when we hurt, to see them taking those steps, the progress is always a push.
He was like a father figure, because I mean, the life cycle of people from where I'm from and from places like this, you're OG at 21. So if you're over 30, you're like grandparent status, wise. You know, he's a person you call if there's an issue between 2 warring families, you call him, you know, he smooths out the situation. There's video footage of him like sending little messages to folk, man, hey man, quit all that violence.
Man, I don't care what hood you from, man, where you at, man. I love you and God love you, man. Put them guns down, man.
And it's not like he's talking about the folk here and some folk in another neighborhood. He's talking about the people here, to the people here. So he had that kind of presence and pull in his community.
His legacy taught me that I've become too comfortable. And it really kind of convicted me. It's painful when you're viewing yourself and see you've become more of a wall than a bridge. It's painful because I could do more. I remember our last conversation. He was like, man, you know what, King? We gonna push through, King. We're gonna push through, It's rough right now, It's rough right now, man. We're gonna push through, And I always remind him, that's all we got to do is push through.